Thank you. So Paul, I try to think about my oldest memory with you, and it was there. Do you remember where it is? It was with Volker. Do you remember where? Great. So it was a workshop about 3 partially commutative monoids with a European project SMIX, and we had a lot of meetings with this project. And I remember that Paul explained his first steps on infinite traces, if I remember well. And I've seen on DBLP that after that you wrote a paper on this topic. I also tried to find the oldest possible picture. It is not at that time, but here. And I'm sure that several people in the audience will recognize themselves on this picture. And the game is to find Paul and maybe myself. I can zoom. So Paul is here. I am here. Volker, François, Manfred. Yes. Comment? Pascal. Antoine Petit. Dietrich. So, yes. And it was, oh, I'm sorry. C'est cruel, oui. I have some problem with my, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Yes, it was in 2000, and it was a Dutch tool meeting. Yes, and as you see, Paul is always the same, except maybe your hair. But so it's nice to be here with you and all friends together. And so now I'm going to speak about verification and synthesis. And first, I would like to recall classical things about reactive systems, just to remember for everybody here. So everybody knows reactive systems that constantly interact with their environment, like here, and this environment is uncontrollable. Of course, it is necessary to be sure that they are correct in any behavior of the environment. Think about your ABS system in your car. And thus we need to produce a system controller that are capable to guarantee a safe behavior for the system against any behavior of the environment. And this is what we call verification, and it is done a posteriori of a given system controller. So there are many results, and maybe I could mention this book by Christel and Jos-Peter Katun. Now we can go further with reactive synthesis. It is more ambitious. It means that now you would like to design a controller for your system from the property that the system has to satisfy. So like here. And a way to do this is to model the interaction between the system and the environment as a directed graph, like here. And there are 2 players that are opposed, the system, again, the environment. And here is the property that we want to see being satisfied. Here it is an LTL property. And to decide whether a controller for the system, it is equivalent to say whether there exists a winning strategy for the system in a way to satisfy the property that will be seen as the objective of the system, and the environment as the opposed objective. Again, there are many results, several tools, and here are two references. And I'm sure that you have seen the new book, Games on Graphs, that appears recently on Archive. The problem with this modalization is that we see the environment completely opposed to the system, and it is a bold abstraction of reality. Indeed, the environment could be composed of several components with their own behavior, objective, maybe not necessarily opposed to the objective of the system. And what are the remedies in this case? Maybe you could try to have a precise model of the environment, taking into account this objective of this environment. In my talk, I will follow another approach. We'll keep the initial model, the one I gave here, and we will describe the behavior of the environment as objectives on this directed graph. So the model is what we call Stackelberg games. These are non-zero-sum games because the environment and the system are no longer opposed. So the system will be seen as a specific player that I will call the leader. And the environment is composed by other players called followers, one or several players, depending on whether the environment has one or several components. And the idea is the following one. The leader will announce his strategy, so how it will be controlled. And knowing that, the followers, the environment, will respond to this strategy by playing rationally, not by following every possible play, but by taking into account his own objective. And I will explain later how it will be played. This will be played rationally for the environment. And thus the goal of the leader is to satisfy his objective with a strategy that he will announce in a way that when the followers respond rationally, so that the objective of the leader is satisfied. So this will be my model. And in my talk, I will follow one approach in detail, which is the one where we have one follower. And I will present new results that I obtained with Jean-François here in the room and a PhD student. And later in my talk, I will also present another approach where we have several followers, and it was proposed by, for instance, Orna Kupferman. So let me begin by fix the notation, the terminology of Stackelberg non-zero-sum games. So as usual, we have a game arena, like in my example here. And the vertices are partitioned between the two players. Player 0 is the system. And in my example, he controls the cycle vertices. And player 1 is the environment, so the follower. And in my example, he controls the square vertices. So the two players begin to play at the initial state V0, and they play in a turn-based way by following a certain play, infinite play. And in my talk, I will consider mainly qualitative Boolean objectives, which is for some player, a particular set of plays. For instance, in my example, player 0, the system, has a reachability objective, which is to either reach V6 or to reach V7. So the objective, everybody knows this in the room, either there are omega regular objective, like reachability in my example, safety, Bucci, pro-Bucci, parity. I have to speak already, okay. Well, maybe I speak already. Is it better in this way? Now, is it okay? No.
No, it's not the same. Maybe. Même tu parles un petit peu plus fort.
Mais je parle déjà très fort. Et maintenant, Jacques, est-ce que c'est mieux maintenant, Jacques? Jacques, est-ce que c'est mieux maintenant?
Ah oui.
Je vais essayer de parler encore plus fort. Oui, c'est fort là. Comme ça va? Je vais donc essayer de parler. I will shift to English. So I will, in my talk, focus on parity objectives because you know that it's a classical way to define the omega regular objectives. Of course, for practical application, it is also sometimes more interesting to consider quantitative objective, like in the talk of Benjamin. And here, when we have a play, we have a payoff associated with this play, and the player I would like to maximize or minimize this payoff. An example are, for instance, quantitative reachability. You want to reach as quickly as possible certain vertices in the game. It can be also classical quantitative payoff like mean payoff or discount. So now I would like to explain what is rationality of the follower. So you have player 0, which is the system, player 1, which is the environment, and this player 1 has T objective, omega 1, omega T. In my example, I consider a tree objective, and close to every play, I put a triple of 0 and 1. 0 when the objective is not satisfied, and 1 when it is satisfied. So these are Boolean objectives. So as I explained in my introduction, player 0 will announce a strategy. In my example, he decides to use this edge. And we will consider all plays that are consistent with this strategy. So for my example, it is this play looping on V1. This second play at V3, I have to follow the strategy of player 0 and loop here forever. And there is a third play here, looping there. So these are the three consistent plays with the given announced strategy. And as I explained, for each play, the environment received a triple of Boolean. And what will be rationality for the environment is to consider the component-wise order on this Boolean vector and to only plays with Pareto optimal payoff. It means that the best for him is to use the maximal Boolean vectors with respect to this order. So in my example,
for instance, this payoff is not Pareto optimal because there is a greater one here. And so the rationality for the environment is only to follow these two first play with those Pareto optimal payoff. So this is the difference with a classical modelization where we consider all the plays. Here I only consider the plays with Pareto optimal payoff. And thus the goal of player 0 is to announce a strategy such that when we consider those rational response of the environment, the objective of player 0 is always satisfied. Is it clear, the context? And so I will begin with verification in this context, which can be seen as a generalization of model checking. So you are given a Pareto game, a Stackelberg-Pareto game, with a given strategy of player 0, and we would like to decide whether every play that are consistent with this strategy sigma 0 with a Pareto optimal payoff always satisfy the objective of player 0. So in my example, the answer is no.
Long live India and France friendship.